All right, let's take a look at the Frankford Arsenal Platinum Series Case Trim and Prep Center. So now, if you guys have seen my other videos, you guys have seen me use this quite a bit. I do use this to prep all my brass, and I really do love this machine. So now, in addition to just being your standard brass prep center with your external and internal neck chamfers and your primer pocket tool, this does have a built-in case trimmer. And since this is kind of the unique feature to this machine, let's take a look at it first. We'll unscrew this and kind of take a look at some of the components and how this thing actually works. So now we remove the cap, and let's get to some of the internals to see how this thing actually sets up and works. So one thing you've got at the very end is you have this plastic brass collet, and then on the inside you have a case shoulder stop. So now what this does is this is just basically a little beveled washer that seats down in the machine, and when you go to set your adjustment depth, which we'll look at here in a second, this basically just sits on the ring right on your case neck and keeps it from going in any further. So along with that, I did mention that it does have a case collet. So now it comes with a few of these. This one is sized for the 6 Creedmoor brass that I'm running. So now the way this works is we'll get the shoulder stop in here, kind of help push it in with a case. So the shoulder stop keeps it from going any further, and it is going to be based on the size of your case neck and your case shoulder. And it's got a few different attachments for different sizes of cases. And then you thread on the end caps. Now, what the end cap does is it has a little bevel on the inside that is going to tighten the collet around your piece of brass. So now when you go to tighten this on, you will see that as you get towards the collet, it'll start to wedge it and tighten the collet closed. So now the way you adjust this is what you have here is you have a lock screw, and then you can screw in or out your basically adjustment. I'm not really sure what to call this. We'll just call it the adjustment settings. So as you can see, they are marked on here, and you can dial them. It looks like they're in thousandth of an inch increments. And so you can just loosen up that lock nut and make your adjustments there. So you can set it and change the increments. It does have those nice handy markings on there, so you know how much adjustment you've made. And from what I can tell on the ones I've done, it's actually fairly accurate. It does take a little fine tuning, but it's a very nice, very accurate system. You go ahead, you turn the machine on, and you stick the brass, and you can actually see through these windows here that the brass is coming down, stopping on the shoulder, being trimmed. No matter how hard you push, it is bumping up against that shoulder stop and cannot go any further. So as I mentioned, it does have a few accessories in here. You come and open the top, and it's got a handy card giving you different descriptions for different caliber sizes and things. And it has your different shoulder stops for your cases in here. It has a storage for your secondary primer pocket tool. I've got the small rifle primer pocket on here. This is the large rifle. And then, as I mentioned, it does have the 2 different collet sizes for either bigger or smaller cases stored nicely in the top. So now looking at the chamfer and deburr tools, those are just kind of your standard that you find on almost any other deburr machine. You've got a nice outside chamfer, internal chamfer, and then, as I mentioned, the primer pocket tool, which I don't use too much because I do a wet tumble for my brass, which usually does a good job of cleaning out my primer pockets. But you can swap that out with a case neck brush or something else like that if you'd want. So with that, overall, it's a very good, very solid machine. You can see you got the switch on the side. It turns all of them on. They're all on at once. It just runs. The motor runs everything. So it's a really handy, good setup. You've got everything you need in there. You can trim them and deburr and chamfer them all at the same time without having to swap machines, get different setups. It just makes it really nice and handy all in one process. So with that, I've been a big fan of this machine. If you guys really want to go check this out, I do have a link in the link tree in my bio on my page. You can go to Frankford Arsenal, and you guys can go check these out there. Thanks, everybody.